Hello, everybody, and welcome to what I think is a very, very special episode of the TripSitting Podcast, where we explore what it means to be human. Now, the reason why this is a special episode for me is because this is the 50th episode of the TripSitting Podcast. So I launched the first episode last year on October 7th. So that was October 7th, 2022. And truly had no idea how I was going to keep getting guests, what I was going to fully talk about, how I was going to grow this, who I was going to meet during that time. I just knew that I kind of wanted to make this. And so I did. And it's kind of just fucking crazy that I've released, this will again be the 50th episode released, and it will be almost exactly one full year from when this is going to get released to that. So I've released one episode every single week, and I think I missed like literally 2 weeks over the course of an entire year, which from as someone who did not know really anybody in this space before and did not know a single thing about podcasting is just wild for me to think of. So one, this is special to me because I want to thank everybody who actually sits and listens to this. I still think it's absolutely insane. Even if one person that I don't know listens to this, I think that's the coolest fucking thing on the face of this planet. So thank you so much for listening. And then two, I wanted to actually take this time to reflect back on the year. It's been a year since, a little over a year now since I've done ayahuasca, since I started the podcast, and just talk about, I guess, some of the philosophies that I try to live by, and, kind of why this has been, really the best year of my life, and some of the guiding principles that I think have helped that. I want to share all of that with you guys, with people who want to listen. And so yeah, that's what this episode is going to focus on. And then I'll sort of talk about, the plans that I have for the future as well, which are really exciting. And, I'll try to give a recap on some things that happened, which if you're all, curious about, I actually wrote, a blog post in one of my, Trippy Monday posts that was reflecting on the past year and sort of going step by step on all of the different things that have happened in my life, which looking back on it really feels like a lot. It was certainly a packed year. And I think that this year is going to be just as packed, if not more packed, in a different way for sure. I'm not going to move across the country. I don't think, at least as of right now, that's not the plan, but we'll, I never want to pretend like I know exactly what's going to happen. That's part of the beauty of life. So with that, let's dive into, some of the things that I've learned that I think can help a lot of people out. And really the number one thing that ayahuasca showed me was that self-love is the most important thing in this entire world. Without truly loving yourself, I don't think you're ever going to be able to reach that place of peace, and really be truly happy and satisfied and content with your life. If you don't fully and completely love yourself for exactly who you are. And what that means is not loving everything that you do, fully and, loving just this version of you right now. It means going deeper than that and trying to understand, well, one, who am I? And then once you figure out, who you are, or on the other hand, who you are not, making sure that you are fully loving the whole part of everything, your shadow, everything that is there that consists of you, all of the things that might have happened in your past that have led up to this point. You got to love yourself for those things too. Everything that you're not proud of, you need to love yourself in those moments. Those are probably the most important times where self-love actually really comes into play. is those moments when, we are judging ourselves and we don't feel good about who we are, what we've been. It's giving yourself that love and allowing yourself to receive that love, in essence. And, if you don't love yourself fully, you're not going to be able to receive love from others. I think you can only love others and receive love from others to the level that you love yourself. So if you do not love yourself, yet you're trying to, be in a relationship or, whatever kind of relationship it is, be it friendship, be it, a romantic relationship, you're not going to be able to love your partner. Your partner won't be able to love you if you don't fully love yourself. So that's been one of the most important things for me is cultivating that level of self-love. And it is really powerful, and it's not easy to do if you're not used to it. If you didn't grow up in the environment where, you were told that, hey, love yourself for who you are. If you weren't allowed to make mistakes, it can be hard to love yourself. So, psychedelics have helped me with that a lot. Ayahuasca specifically was really the main thing that helped me feel that true self-love for the first time. And now it's, me trying to basically go back and remember that feeling and feel that feeling again every single day. And I admittedly do not do that every single day, because it takes conscious effort. It takes time, it takes integration, it takes work. But it is worth it in the end. And, you're allowed to make mistakes. We're not supposed to be perfect. Honestly, being fully enlightened like the Buddha sounds pretty fucking boring. I'm not out here trying to do that at all. I'm just trying to live, the best life that I can. And having love at the center of it, that'll then, allow you to have love at the center of everything that you do in your job and again, all of your relationships and your hobbies. So self-love is really, really number one. Second thing I want to touch on that I think is super important. By the way, I don't really have like a set list, by the way. I'm kind of just riffing here. I wrote some things down on a piece of paper, but I might not touch all of them, or I might, think of more on the spot. These are not like 10 commandments to live by any means. These are just things that I try to think of and remember, every day to allow myself to live in that state of peace. But number two is, and none of these are really original, by the way, like not a single one. But number two is living in the present. This is one that is, paramount. Everyone will tell you live in the present, but that again is a lot easier said than done. And, what I learned from my experience with psychedelics is a lot of the time when I think I am living in the present, I am still not living in the present. Like, even if I'm aware that I'm here right now and I'm doing this podcast and I'm breathing, talking, doing whatever, if I'm still thinking about the future and thinking of like, oh, well, fuck, after this, like I want to make a video, I need to edit this. Like, I'm not living in the present. I'm not fully here in that moment. I'm actually living in the future. Or if I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, fuck, what, did I make the most out of my day yesterday? Could I have done more? Did I like how I talked to that one person? Like, that's, again, living in the past. So living in the present involves just taking a deep breath for me, and just noticing that and allowing those thoughts to all come in, by the way. It's not about, shoving the thoughts away and telling them go away and not having any thoughts go through your head. It's about understanding that you can just observe your thoughts without clinging on to them and without attaching to them. So when you start to think of, what am I going to have for lunch later? It's realizing like, oh, I'm thinking about the future right now. That immediately brings you back to the present right there. Once you have that thought, is noticing that I am the observer of all of these thoughts. And then, usually coming back to the breath. That's why I like to take a lot of deep breaths, is because that's really, really grounding for me to get back into the present moment, is to realize that I am right here, right now. And that, the thoughts or the feelings that might come up, that they're safe to feel, that we're allowed to feel these things. that maybe growing up, maybe the way that we were wired, it wasn't as safe to feel those things. So we found ways around it, so we didn't have to fully be there in that present moment, because the present moment was fucking hard. Maybe we have somebody that's yelling at us all the time and telling us and making us feel like we aren't perfect, and that we can't do the things that we want to do, or say the things that we want to say. And so if you grow up in an environment like that, you find a way to basically, I'm just going to live in the future. I'm just going to think about, what do I do if this happens? What do I do if this happens? And then you just get so used to that you don't realize that you're even doing it. So these subconscious patterns just continue to build up, and you have to come back to it. Our job as adults is to, I think, basically reparent ourselves into the people that we want to be. And that's not saying that it's our parents' fault or anybody's fault by any means. Like, our parents are going to fuck us up in one way. It's just inevitable. It's guaranteed. And if anybody listening to this, me included, if we ever have kids in the future, we're going to fuck them up in some way. Like, they're not going to be absolutely perfect and never have to suffer or never have any issues or anything like that. Like, that is just an inevitable part of life, and part of bringing another human being into this world is you're going to mess them up a little bit, but you can't take it personally, and you just have to do the best that you can. And once you become an adult, realize that yes, it's not our fault that some of the things happen to us, but it is our responsibility to decide what we're going to do with that now. If we let that affect us and affect our relationships and our review of the world going forward for the rest of our lives, that's on you. That's not on them. You can't keep playing the blame game. It's our responsibility to reparent ourselves and fix these things and turn into the person that we want to be, whatever that is. I don't really care, but whatever it is, if you go back to the self-love thing, I think that helps you figure it out. What do you, when you love yourself, what are you doing? What do you want to do when you have that full sense of self-love there? So back to living in the present, I guess. Just once you realize that you are here, you are now, things become a lot clearer. I often wake up and I'm immediately like, especially if I look at my phone first thing, I am immediately like thinking about like, oh fuck, what I have to do today. I got to do this, blah, 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 blah. And then unless I sit down and meditate, like I'm going to be like that for the rest of the day. And like, I am not going to be productive. I'm going to be basically just half-assing everything. But if I give myself the time to meditate in the morning, really feel the present moment, like deeply, and understand that like I am in it and I am here, I can then really just think through like, what am I doing right now, and not be thinking about the 8 million other things that I want to do in the future. So however you find your way to live in the present, do that. There's, a million different ways, but living in the present is truly, truly paramount to living a peaceful life. And that doesn't mean never think about the future or never think about the past. Like, you need time to reflect and you need time to plan. Those are both good things, but you can't be constantly living in both of those states, and understand that, even if I am planning right now, I am living in the present, planning for the future. I'm not living in the future. You can't control a lot of these things. You can only control what you do right here, right now. So while you may plan for those things, you can't, live as if you're already there. You still have to live right here, right now, and do the things necessary right here, right now to get there. So I hope this makes sense, but if not, whatever. Feel free to ask me any questions if you have them, or just tell me, I disagree. I love that. I don't think I'm fully right here, and I don't think that these are like set in stone. I'm very open to changing the way that I live my life once something that I see comes along that might make more sense. But this is kind of what I got for now. So first we have self-love. Second, we have live in the present. The next thing that I have here is understanding that everything is perfect exactly as it is, including ourselves, especially ourselves. And a lot of these tie together, by the way, but everything in the world is in alignment. When I say perfect, I don't mean like everyone's happy and, we don't have to worry about a single thing. What I mean by everything is perfect is that the universe is always in balance. And there's nothing that we can do to enact ourselves and our will onto the universe to make it out of balance. All that's going to do is again, just like we can cause sort of, I'm trying to think about the right way to say this, but for as many people that are out there living like the most lavish life humanly fucking possible, there's a million other people that are living in absolute poverty and, don't know where they're getting their next meal and may not have a roof over their head. And so that's what I mean by there's balance. And so like, I think it's our job to figure out, how do we live in that balance? Like the more that we want, then the more that somebody else or something else on this earth is then going to have to like go lower or, suffer or just not be able to live just, a real genuine life with, with basic necessities. And so again, I'm all for, living lavishly and, doing things, but like not just for the fucking sake of doing it. There has to be reason, there has to be intention behind it. And we can't get caught up in that narrative of living so lavishly that like we forget like we're just human at the end of the day. Like we're not God. God is within us. We are born from God. So in a sense we are God, but we are not the only God. I am God in the same way that you are God. And whatever player you're listening to this on, that is also God. That painting behind me, that's God. My neon mushroom sign, that's part of God. Everything on this earth is part of God, and that's why everything is perfect exactly as it is, especially ourselves, and understanding that, the trauma that we've been through doesn't define us, and the way that we're wired, again, even if we still want to change parts of ourselves, you have to realize that you are already perfect exactly as you are before you can truly enact all of that change. So coming back to that, a lot of that has to do with self-love. And again, loving yourself for exactly who you are, but realizing that, I am perfect. I am a perfect being. And you are perfect with all of your flaws and everything that you don't like about yourself. You're still absolutely perfect exactly as you are. Like the idea of flaws is not an actual flaw. Like imperfections are what make us perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. So therefore it's the flaws and the imperfections that actually add to our personalities and make us those perfect human beings that we are. And it's so beautiful. And being able to see that in other people gives you a lot of empathy, gives you a lot of compassion, gives you a lot of respect for what other people have been through, and just letting people be and like not trying to change them. Again, trying to like impose your worldview onto people is almost never going to work. And I realize the irony in that statement, given that I am sitting here right now talking into a microphone, telling people some of these things, but like at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck if you listen to me or not. Like I truly do not. I'm just telling you some of the things that I do that help me a lot. You can choose to listen or you can't, but like I still love you regardless. And at the end of the day, it really does not make a single difference to me. This is, what I think is right. And if you maybe align with it, if part of this is resonating with you, then, let's talk more, or you can do some things to try to get here. But if you're listening to this and you're like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, just stop listening. I will not be offended at all. And if you think you got some things that are better, like, please tell me. Like, I am truly all ears. Like I don't think there's one perfect way to live, part of trip sitting, my tagline is exploring what it means to be human. We're all different. There is not one way to be human. There are 8 billion different ways. So, I think that we do all want a lot of the same things, though. I think we're wired to crave community and to want to feel like we're part of something. Like we want fulfillment in the things that we do. We want to feel like what we do matters. And, kind of on that note, nothing we do matters. So therefore everything we do matters. So it's this duality of life, which is, something that I talk about. We live in a state of duality where opposites can be true at the exact same time. And so, our life only matters to the extent that we make it matter and we want it to matter. So if you don't think it matters, like, it doesn't. But if you do think that every little thing that you do does make a difference and has a little ripple effect, then it does. And adding the most amount of love into the world is the way that I choose, that I want to live, because I think that that's going to create the most amount of positive change. And there's, again, no way for one person to do it all. Like, it's all about affecting the next person who affects the next person and creating this domino effect of love that eventually I hope will truly overtake the earth that we live on. I don't think there needs to be this suffering. Like, we have the resources for everybody to be living well. We just are so stuck in like this competition with each other that, we've been taught these things that we can't take a step back and realize that, like, none of this is fucking real. Like, none of this is set in stone. We can change it literally anytime we want. Which brings me to one of the other things that I wrote here, which is the fact that you can change your narrative literally anytime you want. So if you have been doing things one way your whole life and like you still don't feel happy and you don't feel fulfilled, just change, which is, again, easier said than done, but like, you can do something different. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that is insanity. So do something different, change. And yes, it is scary. It is not easy because we like to feel comfortable. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, yet like, you're not fulfilled or something, even when you try to do other things, you fall back into those same patterns because you know how it's going to end, because it's comfortable, because you don't have to truly take a risk, if you don't do that. But like, when you change, when you decide like, I'm going to do it differently this time, you are stepping into the fucking abyss. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen, but you just got to trust that the universe is going to have your back, because it will. And if you're acting with love and respect and honor and care and positivity and again, having real intention behind whatever it is that you're doing, the universe will have your back. And if it feels like it doesn't, I promise that there is a lesson somewhere in there that will teach you what you need to know. It will give you the knowledge to then continue to move on. Like, I think, our jobs is to kind of just gain this universal knowledge as we go through lives as human beings in these specific bodies. It's to gain this knowledge. And once you gain this knowledge, you can move on to the next, but you can't keep moving forward unless you truly understand and learn the lessons that you need to learn, which typically do involve a lot of suffering. I think my most transformative moments have felt like there was a lot of suffering and there was a lot of pain. It was really hard and really difficult, but I wouldn't trade those things like for anything. Those have been the most important times of my life, and some of the best times of my life, looking back on it. Like, going through it, yeah, it sucks sometimes and it can be hard, but like, without it being difficult and without those hard lessons and without the pain and the suffering, odds are I probably wouldn't have gotten the lesson. I probably would have skimmed over it and tried to move on to the next one, which has happened multiple times. And then the universe is like, nah, sorry, didn't get it. We're going to try this again and just make it look a little bit different. But really, it's the exact same thing. These patterns are going to continue to repeat themselves until you truly get it. But yeah, you can change your narrative anytime you want. Again, a year ago, I was working in software sales. I was afraid to truly tell people that I use psychedelics. I was afraid to live my truth. And it's been a year now. I have 50 episodes of this podcast. I don't work in software sales at the moment. In fact, I don't really make very much money at all. But I work in a restaurant. I now do sales for an ayahuasca retreat. I'm starting to work with a local healing center here that sells mushrooms and mushroom products to people in the community. And so I'm learning all these new skills every day. And like, you know, it feels like I am just on this path now that I don't really have an end goal or an end point, but like that's the point, you know, the point's in the journey, which I used to fucking hate when people said that when I was a kid. Cause I was like, yeah, this journey kind of sucks though, but that's judgmental. And brings us to one of the next lessons that I try to live by. And it is that nothing in life is truly good or bad. Things just are. So the concepts of good or bad is just our worldview judging something for what we think it is. But truly it's not. Like, you never know if something is going to actually be good or bad at the end of the day. You just have to like live with whatever it is that is there, like take in the information and then move from there. But like once you judge something as, oh, this is bad, like I don't want this, like I don't want to do this, like then again, like you're not living in the present, you're not fully feeling what you need to feel right there. And then odds are whatever that bad thing is, like it's probably going to keep happening in your life in one way or another. It's actually probably going to do that regardless of how you judge it. But like, it's just living with things. Like, you know, we're all going to die at the end of the day. So, you know, just because, you know, your family member or someone close to you like dies, like, yes, that feels fucking terrible. I'm not trying to take away from that at all. But like, you immediately being like, oh, that's bad, that's just going to make you suffer more and more and more. Like once you have that narrative in your head of like, that was bad, like you're now living from that moment on, and everything you do is going to be subconsciously affected by that moment because you're judging that as bad. So you are trying your hardest not to feel the things that you felt in that moment once you judge it as bad. And if you're judging something as good, for example, you're then going to be living to basically chase that feeling for the rest of your fucking life. And it's never going to feel the same. Like nothing will ever truly come to that. If you're like, oh, this is good, like I need more of that, so let me now frame my life around getting to this good feeling. That's also never going to work. It's just like feeling everything while it's there in the present moment for what it is and just moving on to the next one. I've never been happier in my life than when I'm living in the present moment, regardless of if I'm crying and bawling my eyes out because of just immense sadness, or if I'm probably still crying and bawling my eyes out because of immense joy. Either way, I'm crying, but I'm allowing myself to feel the things. Or if I'm just, you know, laughing, you know, for the sake of it, or just, you know, feeling grateful for the moment, whatever it is, or even like feeling pain and just allowing myself to feel the pain and being like, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this. Then afterwards, I'm like, damn, I got through that. Hell yeah. So, you know, nothing in life is really ever good or bad. So once you accept that things are never good or bad, it's a lot easier to move on and just allow things to be, so they don't continue to affect you subconsciously, and you don't continue to have that be part of the way that you live and make it a part of your identity. When you judge things as good or bad, like that becomes part of your identity. You know, in Buddhism, attachment is the reason why we suffer. So if you get rid of your attachments to things, a lot of the time our attachment has to do with judging things as good or bad. If you're able to get rid of that, there's going to be a lot less suffering. So you're just going to be able to live at peace, be able to reach nirvana. Trying to be happy all the time is a pointless game, because like that's just one emotion that we feel is happiness. So like when I say I want to be happy, like that doesn't just mean like I want to be smiling and giddy all the fucking time. It means I want to be at peace. You know? It means that I want to feel just content, really. Like truly, truly content with things as they are. knowing that, I'm just one small creature on this gigantic earth that we live in. And I have one specific worldview that is not correct, nor is it wrong. Again, it just is. And, when you realize that your roommate, your neighbor, and the mailman, and the person that works at the grocery store also has their own unique worldview about everything, and it's not the same as yours, and you just allow that to be without trying to change people to get to believe in your worldview. You just love people for who they are. I think eventually we'll all just figure it out that like we can love each other for who they are, and like we can collectively want what is best for the whole. Like we don't feel the need to be greedy and mad and angry all the time with the world because we're not getting what we want. It's like you're never going to get what you want. But, if you have love in your heart, the universe is going to give you what you need. And it's our job to get out of the way to let that happen. The universe wants us to have abundance, wants us to be free, wants us to be content, wants us to be creative, doesn't want us to suffer and feel like we're trapped in a prison. So we have to get out of our own ways to let the universe give us the things that it wants to give us. I think I'm going to end it there. I think I covered pretty much just about everything I wanted to, but sort of the last thing here is just, be grateful for what you do have. The fact that we get to live this life on this planet in these bodies is statistically improbable, to say the least. So be thankful that we do get to experience this. It really is just truly a joy, and like just absolutely amazing that we get to live these lives and we get to have conscious thoughts and think and feel in the way that we do, and then think about those feelings that we have. It's really, really amazing, and it's such a blessing. And to end this, I want to talk about what's in the future. So if you've read, my latest posts or even listened to the last solo episode that I did, which, by the way, I just realized this is completely on accident, but the first solo podcast I did was episode 26. And the last solo podcast episode I did was episode 38. And now this is episode 50. So basically, on accident, every 12 episodes now have been solo podcasts. So I might just try to kind of keep this trend going. I think maybe once every 3 months or once every 12 weeks, 3 months, whatever it is a good pace to have like a solo episode. So I think I kind of like this. So I might keep this going, I might not. But either way, what's going on for the future is my biggest project that I'm working on right now is I want to kind of take some of the things that I've done in this podcast and do in-person video interviews with people while we are actually tripping on mushrooms. And the reason I want to do this, I talked about this in my last episode, but I think that the concept is a little bit more fully flushed out this time. Still not fully there, but a little bit more. The reason I want to do this is because when I'm in that state, when I'm coming down from mushrooms, like I don't want to record people when we're fucking peaking. Like you're still going through some shit. That would just be rude, and not allow people to get the full experience. But, once I'm on the come down, once I'm kind of in that reflective state, and once I'm in, I'm glowing basically, I feel the most myself than I ever have. And I feel so comfortable being me and saying things that maybe normally I wouldn't want to say because I'm judging them and I'm kind of thinking about like what I'm saying. But when I'm in that state, I'm really just, I'm raw and I'm genuine, and I want to live in that state all of the time. So that's why, this is practice for that. But like, we're not taught that we can live in that state all the time. And so I think recording the interactions that people have while they are in that state, I think is a really, really beautiful thing. And this is content that, as far as I'm aware, does not really exist out there. And I want to bring that content to people, but I want to make it really fucking good. I want the production value to be very, very high on it. I want to be able to actually like market it and get it in front of people that might not be able to see this before. And these are things that I don't necessarily know how to do. So, I'm going to start reaching out to people asking for help. If anybody that listens to this thinks you can help me on this in any way, shape, or form, please hit me up. I am all ears. But, I also want to raise some money for it. I want some funds to really do it well. And again, put some marketing dollars behind it, maybe hire some people that are better than me at editing videos, even though, I have gained some pretty good skills over the last year, which I think is pretty cool. But I know that there's a lot for me to learn, and I'm open to learning all of that. But yeah, I think that's really, really cool content to be able to get out there and just show people having a good fucking time. We'll talk about things that came up during the experience, whether they were hard, whether they were good. And, if you've ever taken psychedelics before, your brain can go on a lot of different tangents, and sometimes it's hard to fully keep it together. I think it can be a lot of fun, recording that process, and showing people that are scared of psychedelics and that have never done it, that it's not something to be scared of. This is something that can be healing. It can be fun. It can be difficult at times. And, I'll probably want, the camera rolling maybe at the beginning and maybe just kind of set there like during the experience, and we could kind of go back to some stuff. But again, it's not fully fleshed out. But, I want to show the experience and how beautiful it can be, and let people know that it's not something to be scared of. You don't fucking lose your mind and be psychotic, but, you can be open, and you could be loving, and you could be caring before you go back to, being your normal self, unless you take time to integrate those lessons, and then you could change and rewire your brain and change who your normal self is and change that narrative. But either way, that's the biggest project that I'm working on right now. And I'm excited to really get going. I finally just bought some equipment for it. There's definitely some more equipment that I still need to buy, but yeah, I'm really excited, and definitely, again, looking for all the help that I can get to make this a reality. But yeah, so I wanted to thank everybody for listening to this episode. Thank you so much for following me along on this journey. Again, I am just truly grateful to be here and blessed to be able to talk about what I love and something that's helped me so much, and hopefully be a really small part in helping to end the war on drugs, which I'm very, very passionate about. So, yeah, thanks again. Stay trippy, and we'll see you next episode.